He was abandoned at birth, raised by an adoptive mother in a small apartment. Failed college, not once but twice, and yet, this man would go on to build one of the most powerful software empires in the world, Oracle, and stand shoulder to shoulder with legends like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and Elon Musk. His name is Larry Ellison, and his story is not just about building a company. It's about defiance, obsession, and the relentless hunger to prove the world wrong. When you think of billionaires, you imagine polished Ivy League prodigies or calm, methodical geniuses. Larry was neither. He was rebellious, unpredictable, and fiery. But inside that chaos was a mind that refused to quit. A man who would bet everything again and again until he conquered the impossible. Larry's journey begins in 1944. In the Bronx, New York, his biological mother, Florence Spellman, was just 19. She couldn't afford to raise a child, and after 9 months, she made a heart-wrenching choice to give him up for adoption. A young baby with no father around, handed over to his aunt and uncle in Chicago. They renamed him Lawrence Joseph Ellison, and that was the start of a new, uncertain chapter. His adoptive father, Lewis Ellison, was a modest government employee, strict, pessimistic, and often cold. Larry grew up hearing his father say, "You'll never amount to much." Those words didn't break him, they carved him. Every insult, every limit, every "you can't" became fuel. He started questioning everything, rules, systems, and authority. At school, he wasn't the straight-A student. He was curious, restless, and always challenging teachers. Science fascinated him, not because it followed laws, but because it showed him that even laws could be bent with the right formula. After high school, Larry went to the University of Illinois. For the first time, he felt like he could belong. He was studying physics and math, doing well, until tragedy struck. His adoptive mother, the only person who had truly believed in him, died suddenly. He was devastated. He dropped out. No goodbyes, no plan, just gone. He tried again at the University of Chicago, but it didn't last long. He was brilliant but bored, impatient with lectures, obsessed with ideas. And then, like many great innovators, he decided to follow his curiosity rather than a degree. He packed up his car and drove to California, the golden land of dreams and technology. It was the 1960s. Silicon Valley was still in its early sparks. Startups were forming, computers were the size of rooms, and only the bold dared to dream big. Larry began working odd programming jobs. He had no credentials, but his mind worked like a machine, sharp, intuitive, daring. He started at places like Abonded and Ampex, writing code that impressed his colleagues. But there was something inside him that kept whispering, "You're not meant to work for anyone." In 1977, with just $200 and 2 friends, Larry started a company called Software Development Laboratories. It wasn't glamorous, just 3 people in a tiny office trying to survive. But Larry had one big idea. He had read a research paper by IBM about something new, a relational database model. The idea was revolutionary. Store data in a way that could be easily accessed and managed. IBM didn't think it would work commercially. Larry did. He bet everything on it. They renamed the company Oracle, after a project they were building for the CIA. It sounded powerful, mysterious and bold, just like Larry liked it. But building a business from scratch was brutal. Clients didn't trust them. They had bugs, crashes, and near bankruptcy moments. But Larry, he thrived in chaos. He believed failure was just another form of feedback. Slowly, Oracle's database became faster, smarter, and more reliable than anyone else's. In the early 80s, when IBM was dominating the world, Oracle offered something faster, a system that could handle massive data with ease. Larry marketed it fearlessly, often exaggerating what it could do, a move that nearly destroyed the company more than once. But those same risks also made Oracle impossible to ignore. By 1986, Oracle went public. Larry Ellison, the college dropout, the abandoned kid, was now worth nearly $100 million. He was unstoppable, but power didn't make him gentle. He was ruthless, in business, in competition, in everything. He wanted to crush rivals, not beat them. When Microsoft was rising with Windows, Larry wanted Oracle to be the Microsoft of databases. When Sun Microsystems, SAP, or IBM challenged him, he doubled down harder. He once said, "I have all the disadvantages required for success." That summed him up perfectly. But beneath all the aggression was a man who had never stopped fighting ghosts, his father's doubt, his mother's absence, his fear of insignificance. Every deal, every risk, every victory was a way to prove he mattered. As Oracle grew, so did his reputation, both feared and admired. He had a sharp tongue and sharper instincts. His company became the backbone of thousands of corporations, powering banks, airlines, governments, and universities. The world's data began to flow through Oracle's veins, and Larry became its heart. By the 1990s, Ellison was one of the richest men in the world. But money was never enough. He wanted to live like he coded, boldly. He bought yachts, mansions, fighter jets. He raced sailboats across oceans and even built a life-size replica of a Japanese village. To him, success wasn't about having, it was about becoming. The constant pursuit, the never-ending climb. Then came the dot-com crash in 2000. Tech companies were collapsing overnight. Oracle lost billions in market value. Many thought this was the end for Larry Ellison. But once again, he refused to surrender. He streamlined Oracle, fired thousands, refocused on enterprise software, and came back even stronger. As the years passed, Larry's obsession shifted from competition to conquest. He began acquiring smaller companies at an incredible pace. PeopleSoft, Siebel, BEA, Sun Microsystems, building Oracle into a technology fortress. When asked why he was so aggressive, Larry replied, "It's not greed, it's survival. You stop moving, you die." And yet, despite his brutal business tactics, Larry had a strange charisma. He could charm, intimidate, or inspire, depending on what the situation demanded. Employees feared him, but many admired his unmatched vision. He built a culture that valued brilliance over hierarchy. Oracle became a battlefield of ideas, and Larry was its general. Beyond tech, Larry's story is also one of evolution. Over time, the man who had spent decades chasing power began to seek meaning. He donated billions through his foundation, investing in medical research, climate change, and education. He joined the Giving Pledge, promising to give away most of his fortune. The same fire that once fueled his rebellion now powered his philanthropy. Today, Larry Ellison stands among the world's wealthiest, billionaire many times over. With a life that reads like a Hollywood script, from an unwanted child in the Bronx to the CEO of a global tech empire, from a dropout to a digital titan who redefined how the world stores information. But maybe the most fascinating part of Larry's story isn't his wealth, it's his mindset. He once said, "Great achievers are driven not so much by the pursuit of success, but by the fear of failure." That fear of being ordinary, of being forgotten, became his greatest weapon. Larry Ellison never fit the mold. He wasn't humble like Gates, visionary like Jobs, or quirky like Musk. He was his own category, a rebel who believed in no limits. And that's what made him unstoppable. Even now, at over 80 years old, Larry remains a force in the tech world. Oracle continues to evolve under his leadership, moving into cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and beyond. He still wakes up early, sails the Pacific, and plans his next big move. Because to him, stopping means dying. His journey reminds us of something powerful. You don't need approval to be great. You don't need a perfect start. You just need to believe so fiercely in your vision that the world has no choice but to notice. Larry Ellison's life isn't just a business story. It's a war story. The war of a man against his own destiny and his absolute refusal to lose. He was abandoned, doubted, and underestimated. But he became a billionaire, an empire builder, a living symbol of resilience. From the Bronx to the boardrooms of Silicon Valley, from an adopted kid to one of the richest men on earth. And maybe that's what makes Larry Ellison's story unforgettable. Because when the world told him you can't, he smiled and said, "Watch me. If you've made it this far, you've witnessed not just a story of success, but of fire, rebellion, and unshakable belief." Larry Ellison didn't follow the rules. He rewrote them. If you're chasing something big, remember, your start doesn't define your finish. Your hunger does. Watch more stories like this of visionaries who built empires from nothing, but they only on zero to founder.